What is your "we never speak of this again" story? So I am in high school and got trashed at a party. Somehow I made it home. In the middle of the night I drunkenly wander into my parents' bedroom, sit on my dad's hamper and take a good long piss. My dad woke up in the middle of it and pushed me back into my room. I wake up in the morning and go to the living room and see dad. He starts cracking up and told me what happened. Said we won't tell anyone and to go upstairs and clean out his hamper. Ended up having to buy him a new hamper. My mom never said anything about it, so I have no idea if she knew. My dad passed away about 10 years ago. Since that time my mom told me a story about my dad getting drunk one night shortly after they were married, and she woke up in the middle of the night to see him peeing in his hamper. Apparently, I am totally my father's daughter and have still never told anyone about it. I feel like you should tell her. I almost did. I just didn't know how she would handle knowing that both her husband and daughter have issues with alcohol and hampers. Not so much we never spoke of it again, but I've never spoken of it. In college, skipped the day to play some COD. Got bored and decided to take matters into my own hands. My dorm room was on top floor, 4th, and the window blinds were open. As I was furiously taking out my frustrations, a window washer came up to the window on a suspended scaffold. We locked eyes for a second and he left my window and washed and slowly went back down. Roommate told me to text him when I got home so we could smoke a cigarette. I thought that's ducking dumb. He'll be able to clearly hear me coming home. So I knocked on his bedroom door and waltzed in, only to see him taking a big dick pic or masturbating. I'm still not sure which. He jolted up and said something along the lines of "whoa hey," and I just said "UHH hi," and then we went outside and smoked a cigarette. Growing up, we were poor, and as a teen I didn't really have access to porn or whatnot. But I was quite a writer, so I would write exotic fiction as a release. In a spiral. Well, one day after writing a particularly sordid story, I kinda came to and realized I shouldn't leave that stuff around. I went to the kitchen, intending to throw the spiral away. Set it down. Got a drink. The phone rang. I answered, and left the spiral in the kitchen. Forgotten. An hour later my mother comes to me with the spiral and questions. I won't get into it, but she described how a lot of my stories wouldn't really ever happen and were a bit extreme. She threw it away and it never came back up. Walked in on future mother-in-law while she was on the toilet taking a dump. She did attempt to address it shortly afterward, but I managed to sheet it down and we have never spoken of it since. Because that's how we do things in Britain. Edit, I now see the typo. Duck it, I'm leaving it. A close friend and I had just gone through breakups and were drinking a lot that week out of depression. One night we end up cuddling to a movie. Things get intimate. Hot. Passionate. Messy sex ensues all over a suede couch. We awoke in the morning and without speaking, grabbed cleaning supplies, scrubbed the hell out of the couch, then closed ourselves and went to work. Since then we had a laugh about it, but we agreed never to bring it up again. We remain great friends. My college roommate and I were in Italy, and we were lost at a small town train station where there's no English and no one spoke English at all. The way the train station is set up is that we have to take stairs underground and take stairs back up to cross the platform. We were trying to figure out which train to take and ended up going back and forth since we barely understood any Italian. After a few trips going up and down, we decided to just cross back and forth across the tracks. This was way before smartphones. So we were in the middle of the tracks while I used a compass to figure out which direction Florence was. Then we realized it was noisier than usual. Looked up and saw a train coming. In panic, we ran in front of the train to the platform across instead of backwards to safety. Realized we nearly won Darwin Awards. We agreed not to tell anyone about how dumb we were. When I was around 12 years old, my family was on vacation somewhere. Sleeping arrangements, me mom on one bed and brother dad on the other. Except my dad had this ducking annoying habit of getting in bed and cuddling with mom in the morning. EWW. Anyways. One night. I had a very vivid dream. I dreamt that my period started and the blood was gushing. Like. Holy duck. There was so much blood, you guys. And in the dream, I was running to the toilet to try to contain the blood. Plot twist, this dream got the best of me. I woke up a few minutes later soaked in piss. I'm pretty sure my mom and dad felt it too. And my pajama stank like piss for the rest of our trip. No one said anything about it. P.S. I am so sorry for any hotel cleaning people who have to deal with this stuff every day. Capital K. So I was dating this girl and she was at my place. I was 20 and she was 18. Blonde. About average weight and like me. A complete nerd. Anyway. We were having sex and I had no condoms, so I did the pull-out method. I didn't wait until I was on the edge. Just until I felt that tingle. I'd pull out and jack off into a cup. It was a Tim Hortons cup with some old coffee. Maybe like 1 stroke 4 still full. Anyway. Later that night. My parents surprised us with more coffee which we drank. I then placed the cup down and we watched TV. Well. I placed the new cup beside the cum cup. Still watching TV. I'd grabbed the cum cup and drank from it. I was mortified when the cold, old coffee touched my lips. She saw this and clued in what had happened. Then said it was good to know I swallow. So yeah. I drank my own cum spiked coffee. A friend and I got super high in his garage. We started talking about previous sexual conquests and we realized we each had an experience with our cousins early on in life. We looked at each other, finished our session and promptly agreed that that was a secret we took to our grave. When my best buddy and I were still in high school, we decided to go up an old mountain road and do some underage drinking in his car. We were up there for a while and all of a sudden we see headlights behind us. Fearing it was a cop, we hid the beer and my friend looks over to me and says, "Just follow my lead." Turns out it was a cop. We rolled down the windows and he asked what we were up to this late at night up in the mountains. I'm sitting in the passenger seat freaking out, hoping he can't smell any of the beer. My friend looks over at the cop and in the calmest voice says, "It's our 2-year anniversary tonight and we were trying to get away from everything." He then reaches over, picks up my hand and kisses the back of it. The cop looked at us for another few seconds and told us to have a nice and safe night. Just another couple of gay boys enjoying themselves up in the mountains at 1 AM. I was 6. And we were moving. There was an electrical socket I had never seen before. I had a paper clip. It looked like it fit right in, and it did. I had a shock in my whole hand. But fortunately dropped the paper clip out of the light socket quickly enough so that nothing else happened. I went upstairs and told my mom that my hand felt funny after I'd stuck a paper clip in a socket. She told me never to tell my dad, because it had upset him to think that I could have been killed due to my own stupidity without his being there to protect me. I'm an only child. Was a sickly baby. And am still a daddy's girl thanks to that. It's been 30 years. And I still haven't told him. My best guy friend and I both went through really bad breakups around the same time. That night we got really drunk and attempted to have sex. We stopped after a few minutes, looked at each other, burst out laughing, and agreed we would never speak of it again. It's been 6 years. He's happily married with a baby boy. We still get together to catch up every couple of months. Have never spoken of the incident again. I walked in on my best friend and his sister's girlfriend ducking like wild animals. I blurted out, "OURB," and left the room. We had a beer later. They are married now. My best friend and his sister's ex-girlfriend. His sister found greener pastures elsewhere. One night when I was in college I was really drunk and hungry. But every place that delivered food was closed because it was like 4 AM. Then I remembered that there was a McDonald's like 2-3 miles from campus that I could walk to. I checked the website and it said it was open 24 hours. So I started to make my way, As I got close to the student center on the edge of campus, I started second guessing whether or not that McDonald's was open 24/7 or not. So I decided to pop into the computer lab in the basement of the center, which was always open, to go online and check again. The lights were off in the lab, so I thought I would be the only person there. But when I entered the room and the lights came on, I see a security guard sitting at one of the computers. He's startled by me and scrambles to close the window he was looking, which I could already tell was Pornhub. I didn't know how to react, so I just sat down at a computer and didn't say a word. He breaks the awkward silence by getting up and saying, "Well, it's about that time," and then making his way to the door. I still don't know what exactly he meant by that, but my response was just to nod and say yup. That guard and I crossed paths quite a bit after that, and it was always a little awkward. But at the same time, we had like this unspoken agreement about that night, and he would always be nicer to me and let me off when others would have written me up for something I did. Came home drunkenly with roommate. He did the whole naked man thing in his doorway, saying has been attracted to me blah blah. We fool around. I give him a handy. He goes limp and I realize he has fallen asleep in my hands. It was so awkward I went and fell asleep in my own bed in the other room. Woke up. Never mentioned it. Nothing. He moved out the next week. I still cringe thinking about it. We're still friends though. My dad found out how to stream videos from his phone to the TV. He's testing it out and 16-year-old me asks to have a go. I scroll randomly through all these untitled videos he has in his phone and click on one. The dirtiest, filthiest gangbang porn pops up on the TV in front of both of us, and I just hand him the phone and walk out. Never spoke about this since. Had a situation in 8th grade. There were a stack of papers on a projector. I'm old. For whatever reason, there was a mad dash to get them. And as I reached for one, I overshot and grabbed a girl's tit. We both looked at each other knowingly and pretended like it never happened. Didn't need to even say anything. Mine happened a couple years back. I was just minding my own business, going about my day, when I get a text from my dad. Of course, I read it since it's from my dad. The text reads, "Can there be Slava playing tonight's entertainment? I need you. Me and my sister once found a whip in their cupboard, so it's easy to put 2 and 2 together." 5 minutes later, the most sincere "oops" I have ever seen pops up on my screen. I never responded to that text and I have never brought it up. But we both know it happened. A girl at party got wasted and puked all over. After that, everyone left except for a few of us to help take care of her. While she was vomiting into a bowl, she began alternating between puking and farting. We all looked at each other and busted up laughing. This was high school, so we all agreed to never tell anyone. In 2003, the Paris Hilton sex tape was released. My friend and I were both trying without success to download it off our school's network. My friend comes over with his laptop and insists he's found it. It turns it on and it turns out to be black transsexual porn. We watch what seems like forever, but was probably 5 seconds before he closes the window, deletes the file, shuts the screen and leaves. My buddy invited me on a camping hiking trip with his church. I agreed, very avid hiker and outdoorsman, and threw my pack together. We hike our asses up this mountain and set up camp. I brought all my badass toys. Got my new whisper light stove and my new folding camp chair. Guess what I ducking forgot? My goddamn sleeping bag. Duck. What a noob mistake. Left it in the Jeep at the base of the mountain. My buddy literally helped me lay out our clothes on the floor of the tent and we slept snuggled up, back to back, covered with his sleeping bag. My friend is a good friend. I think we decided to just get through it and never talk about it again. I was 16 and extremely drunk at a friend's house party. I decided I was too drunk to stay awake, so I went to my friend's room and fell asleep. So from this point I don't remember hardly anything. It's all secondhand. I apparently walked out into the living room where everyone was still partying. In my drunken stupor I pulled peen. In front of God and the whole party. And pissed all over a fold-up chair. Somebody of course asks what the duck I'm doing, and all I seem to respond with is, I had to pee. Someone's in the bathroom. Everyone is yelling at me to go outside, and I slightly remember waddling to the back of the house. Pants around my ankles. Big dick blazing. I promptly stepped out of my pants and walked home. Waking up with sheer embarrassment, wondering it was a bad dream or real. It was real. Sorry for any errors. On mobile at the moment.